Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are talking about P.U.N.K. This was a new deck that was released alongside DPE and Sword Soul, so it got a little bit overshadowed. And to be fair, it had reason to be overshadowed. The archetype as a whole is basically just a Halka-Fibrax line. You can make Halk. I don't know what else you want from me. However, it does have some pretty interesting mechanics that I thoroughly enjoy. First of all, in order to search out cards, you have to pay life points. Pretty interesting. I like Dark Lords, who also do very similar things, and this kind of just fits in real nice with my niche. On top of that, it not only goes into fusion monsters, but synchro monsters. Their two big boss monsters are a fusion with 2600 defense, which I like, as well as a big old synchro monster at level 11 that can get even bigger than the 3K, so it's rather interesting in that regard. Also, they're all psychics, which means we can play something like Emergency Teleport, which is an absolutely insane card, in order to gain even more advantage. So all in all, just a pretty interesting archetype. Let's do the quick card by card and explanation. So obviously we are playing a few bricks. Let's talk about those first. We're playing Despot 001, Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line, Celestial, Dasher, and those are our bricks. Those are the cards that we do not want to see because they are used for Halka-Fibrax and DPE respectively. Moving on, we are playing a whole bunch of hand traps as well. Well, quite a few. Triple Maxi, Triple Ash Blossom, Double Imperm, and the one Nibiru. Pretty standard. I think that these are just the best hand traps in the current format, especially against things like Sword Soul and the like. These are very, very nice. Moving on to the actual P.U.N.K cards. We are playing two of this P.U.N.K, which allows you to fusion summon it while it is on the field by using a P.U.N.K monsters in your hand or field. Pretty simple. You pay the 600 to fusion summon. Then, on the opponent's turn, you can pay 600 to synchro summon a P.U.N.K synchro monster, using monsters you control as material. The only P.U.N.K synchro monster is this guy. We'll get to him in a second. We're playing one wagon. I'm not going to try and say these names. The only one that I know is this one. This one searches the spell by paying 600 while it is on the field. Also, if it is targeted for an attack, or if a P.U.N.K monster you control is targeted for an attack, you could draw a card. This one searches a trap by paying 600, and, when a P.U.N.K is targeted with a card effect, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack becomes halved. This one rarely comes up, hence why we're playing one of each of these. Also, searching out a spell, searching out a trap is not nearly as useful. So, there you go. We are also playing triple Xeomin. Yeah. This one pays 600 to add a P.U.N.K monster from your deck to your hand. Also, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a P.U.N.K you control. It gains 600 attack. Very, very nice. It allows us to go for lethal with this guy more easily. Not quite perfect lethal, but it does allow for lethal pushes. Then we are playing triple Foxy Tune, which is the level 8. So all of these are level 3 tuners. And then we have level 8 non-tuners in Ogre Dance and Foxy Tune to allow us to go into, obviously, the level 11 Dragon. Foxy Tune, you send this as well as another card from your hand in order to special summon. And Ogre searches by sending itself. You don't have to send another card, it just sends itself. The other effect is it can basically special summon itself by tributing one of your P.U.N.K monsters that is already on the field. And there's like another niche effect that I've never actually had come up. But, all in all, it basically means that you have many ways to special summon out a tuner as well as a non-tuner in order to go for Halka-Fibrax. That's basically it. Also, since we're playing a whole bunch of level 3 Psychics, we are also playing Psychic Wielder. It just makes the most sense. Psychic Wielder is absolutely crazy. So, there you go. Level 3s. Very nice. Moving on, we're talking about the spells and traps. We're playing the one Harpy's Feather Duster, obviously the two Fusion Destiny. We are playing one each of the Wild Picking as well as Crash Beat for our spells for the P.U.N.Ks, which are just nice continuous protection spells most of the time. Two E-Telly, two Called by the Grave, two Imperm, well, I already talked about that. The Dangerous Gabu as one of our traps, as well as the Nashiwari Surprise. I butchered that one. Both of these are actually pretty good. I'm going to talk about this one This one negates an effect, and if you control a punk, you gain life points equal to the original attack, very similar to something like Sanctified Dark Lord. However, it does target. And then we have this one, which targets a set card your opponent controls, or if you control a punk, a face-up card your opponent controls, to destroy it. Pretty simple. They're nice, but they're not anything too crazy. Onto the extra deck, we are playing 1 DPE. We are playing 2 of the Punk Fusions. These are rather interesting. They just require any 2 Punk monsters. You contribute this Fusion Summon card in order to special summon 2 Punk monsters with different names from each other from your hand and or deck, except level 8s in defense position. Also, if it is used as synchro material, you can target a Punk monster you control. It gains a second attack during each battle phase this turn. Pretty nice. The main thing that you are trying to do with this deck is use the tuners, mainly this one. You go into this guy, you fusion summon with 2 other punks to go into this guy. Then on your opponent's turn, you use this one's effect in order to go into the 11. So let's talk about this guy real quick. If this card is synchro summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 psychic monsters with different names you control or in your graveyard. Return them to the hand. Then you can target a punk monster. This is not a quick effect. You can target a target a punk monster. Jeez, I'm crow. Special summon it. You can only use 1 effect per turn and only once that turn. So because of the fact that you want to summon this on your opponent's turn in order to get both effects, basically, you're going to return cards, and then on your turn, you are going to special summon back to go for lethal. That's the basic idea of the deck. However, it turns out that just summoning out 2 tuners off of this guy makes Halka-Fibrax. Halk is just better. It just does more stuff. So we're playing a whole bunch of stuff to facilitate that. Namely, obviously, Halka-Fibrax Aurora Dawn. We are also playing, obviously, the Deathbot 001 and the O-Lion. We are playing Borreload Savage Dragon, as well as the Herald of Arclight, and a few other cards that we could potentially go into. We are playing a Coral Dragon, just in case our Halka-Fibrax gets negated. We can go into a tuner, something like this. You could also play, for example, Dagda and Scythe in order to use the Halka-Fibrax on the opponent's turn in order to go for the Wonder Magician. The Wonder Magician in order to then pop the Scythe and synchro off into a Baron on the opponent's turn. That is also an option. I'm not a big fan of Scythe. I also don't know if it is necessarily worth it, because there are a lot of ways to disrupt that, just as there are a lot of ways to disrupt anything. So, most of the time Halka-Fibrax ends up getting negated anyway, so I went with Coral Dragon because it draws you a card when it's sent to the graveyard. That's mostly why. Also, I don't have any tokens, but yeah. We are playing the Baron de Fleur. This card can still be made with the 1 Despot 001 and the 3 tokens off of the Mechaphana Beast O-Lion, Aurora Dawn, which allows you to then go for a... let's talk about Baron. Baron has a weird effect where during the standby phase, you can target a level 9 or lower monster in your graveyard, return this card to the extra deck, special summon that monster. The reason this is so good is because what you can do is on your turn, after you have, Baroned and, stopped your opponent with things like Baron or Herald of Arclight or whatever it may be, hand traps, etc., you can send the Baron back into the extra deck in order to special summon out this guy. This guy can then tribute himself, or if you have any other punk, any way to get to a punk, any of your level 3s, basically, you can normal a level 3, and then you can go for this guy, which can then just basically win you the game, because he can special summon a monster back to your side of the field, as well as with this guy's effect, you are able to gain 2 attacks. So it's pretty much lethal. We're also playing, obviously, DPE, so Verte, and we are playing a lot of level 8s, so I threw in Hope Harbinger as well as Underworld Goddess, just as extra additional measures, and then Cyframe Lord Omega. All 3 of these could be cut for anything else, such as the Dagda Scythe line if you wanted to. Anyway, let's hop into the duels and see how this deck performs. Alright, so here we are going first, and we drew Fusion Destiny, which is nice. I'm also going to activate this for no reason in particular, but I do. But we are going to E-Telly out our Xeomin in order to add the other punk that Fusion summons. But we are just going to go straight into a Crystron Halka-Fibrax. This is pretty standard. If you know the Halka-Fibrax line, that's all we're doing. And we go uninterrupted, so that's pretty nice. Oh, just kidding. Effect comes down. well, let's go Fusion Destiny, I guess. I don't know, backup plan, you know? This is why we are playing the Fusion Destiny, just as a backup plan mostly. And then we're going to set the Imperm, Maxi, Imperm, Fusion, or Destiny Hero, Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. Not the greatest, but it is a fairly decent amount of disruption. They're going to go Foolish Burial, send the Ashana. Okay, we are playing against Sword Soul. So down comes the Emergence. They are going to search out the Taya here. And then they will go for Vishuddha. Vishuddha is absolutely terrifying, but we are going to just Maxi and go, alright, draw me some cards, shall we? Now, also, if they went Vishuddha, special summon it, special summon it, and then special summon into the Monk, we could just pop the Monk before they can activate the Vishuddha with the DPE, and now they don't have a target to use either their Ashana nor their Vishuddha. And then the Taya could come down, and we could just negate that with an Imperm, so it's not that big of a deal. However, what they're actually going to do is they're going to special summon and then end the turn. This is just not a good play. This is not good. I know that drawing cards is bad, but sometimes you do have to allow the opponent to draw some cards just to at least do something. Because, yeah, you don't know what they're going to draw off the top. Also, you know that DPE is going to come back, as well as the Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line, which means you only have one turn. And now I've gotten 2 cards anyway, so it's like, you kind of have to have done something. Anyway, they're going to go for, we're going to go for the P.U.N.K that we drew off the top, which searches out the spell. We're going to set the Called By, activate the Wild, and then we are going to Celestial draw 2, because it is a fair and balanced card. We draw 2 Ogre Dance, which is kind of not the greatest, especially since we had already normal summon, so it's just like, okay. We're going to go for the Ogre Dance here in order to Tribute Summon, because it does put a little bit more damage onto the field, which is nice, but I just kind of want to put the pressure on them as best as possible. As you can see, they're down to 900 life points, so there you go. We know that they have Taya, we know that they have activations of the Vishuddha and the like, but I'm just going to immediately pop the Taya, activate the effect. They're going to Called By us. Okay, that does hurt, but I think the game is basically over. And yeah, they end the turn, and the game's over. They realize it, they just kind of concede. I am going to go for the Synchro Summon of our big old dragon here, because why not, you know? We'll gain some attack, we will revive our Fusion Summon monster. I'm not going to keep going, even though I could go for, like, the Fusion, and then I could potentially go into, like, something else. Anyway, we're just gonna win. Alright, so here we are, going first with Nibiru. Why? Why are you here? Anyway, we're gonna normal summon the Xeomin. We're going to search out the Foxy Tune. This is a pretty standard combo for P.U.N.K, just because you are able to just special summon another monster, which gets another name on field, which is very nice. However, we already have the Psychic Wielder, so we basically have the Hulk, Hulk. So we're gonna go for the Hulk here, especially, okay, yeah, Auroradon, whoa. Auroradon, 1, 2, 3. Please go faster. Like, come on. This, I feel like you should just be able to speed up the Hulk Dawn line. Like, come, yeah, we've all seen this. We know what's happening. Yeah, yeah. Keep going. Keep a little bit faster. Okay. Now, okay. You might be wondering, why didn't I use Foxy Tune? You said it was good. It's another body on field. Because I'm dumb. And I made Herald of Arclight before using the Foxy Tune. Now, if you don't know what this card does, this card is absolutely crazy and it counters the Forbidden Droplets. Do keep that in mind. The reason being is because, right here, any monster sent from the hand or main deck to the graveyard is banished instead. So, you can't send something off of Droplets. You can't unless you normal summon it, right? And more importantly, is the fact that I can't use my Foxy Tune because it sends to the grave. It sends itself to the grave. It does not discard. It sends itself to the grave. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. So there you go. We are playing against Ancient Warriors. This is a rather weird build, but I go, okay. I'm just going to negate their Loyal Guan Yu, right? Which was trying to special summon itself because that card is absolutely crazy. Then they activate Summon Breaker, which is a card that exists. If you haven't read this card, it's summon limit on a field spell, so it's bad. But my opponent activates it and then starts going for Tri-Brigade stuff. And I go, sure, dude. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna summon? They go for 2, they summon the Bear Brum, they normal summon a guy, and then they end the turn. And to be fair, I think what they had originally wanted to do was activate this later, but they didn't, so it's very funny. Hence why we are actually playing through this duel. Also, Celestial, why? Why are you gravitated to my hand? Anyway, we're going to fusion summon here. We're going to go for the P.U.N.K fusion here with this guy. And then we are just going to attack into the Master and just pass the turn. We still have 3 negates, and now here, I do something rather dumb. So, realistically, on the normal summon of the Nerval, what I should have done is activated this guy's effect in order to synchro away into this guy. And then I could have returned all 3 of those monsters back to the hand, right? That would have been the best play. But what happened is, if you don't know, if you left click, or right click, sorry. If you right click, you cancel the option, right? You cancel, you just proceed through as if you were ignoring the pop-up, right? So, while it gave me the option to do that, I accidentally hit the right click, and so I couldn't actually activate it. I had hit the right click and realized I hit the right click, and I just held my hand there. Was like, hold on, can I fix this? I couldn't. It was too late. So, all in all, I messed up. But it's fine, because they ended up going for Rugal here, which was interesting. They're going to go for the Nerval, and I'm just going to negate that, because I don't really have anything else that I need to negate this turn. Because, again, I can just go for the Synchro Summon here. They're going to return their card, and then they try to end, or go into battle phase, and I'm just going to go into our dragon. And then we will shuffle back those 2. They are going to set their Revolt, and I'm like, yeah, this game is basically over at this point. So I'm going to special summon out our monster, and yeah, they realize the writing on the wall. I still have a negate. They only have the Revolt. Game's over. Good game. Alright, so here we are once again going first. I feel like I haven't gone second with this deck. It doesn't want to go second, I'll tell you that. Anyway, we're going to search out the Fusion Summon monster. Or the guy that Fusion Summoned, since we had 2 Punks that searched. So we're going to special summon out the Fusion monster. We're going to go for 2 different monsters. One that searches the monster, and the one that searches the trap. The trap is just kind of a negate, so it's just nice to have. And then we will go into Halka. We also search out the Foxy Tune here. Yeah, this happens a lot. Sometimes you'll just summon, well, at least in Diamond 1 it does. You'll summon out the Halka, and they're just like, well, I have no answer, so good game. Yeah. Alright, so here we are once again going first. I definitely went second with this deck. I must have not won any. We're going to go for Xeomin to search out the Ogre Dancer, and then we will special summon the Wielder in order to go into Hulk. Hulk effect gets negated. Okay, that's fine. This is why we held our emergency teleport. Oh, just kidding. I have called by, never mind. But in all honesty, yeah, called by is kind of crazy. I don't think that this deck needs something like Crossout, because it'd kind of be a brick half the time. But you could play Crossout. It's just like, you kind of don't have a lot of room with the P.U.N.K stuff. But, as you can see, I did a bit of a different line. We went for the Hulk Dawn line, and then instead of using the tokens in order to go into Borreload and a Herald of Arclight, I instead go for Baron. The reason for this is because, as I've previously mentioned, this card is very, very good. It allows us to negate something, as well as then potentially put up, or put back the Fusion Monster, which we don't currently have, but we could still potentially go for it. Which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for the Fusion Monster right here. We're going to special summon out the Rising Carp, and then I will activate the Rising Carp in order to special summon out 2 other of our monsters. We're going to search out a trap, as well as a spell here, and we search out... I never actually talked about any of the spells, but this one, it protects you from targeting. If your opponent targets you, or one of your P.U.N.K monsters, you can target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. It's not the greatest, which is why I never really talked about it, but you know it exists. But yeah, so at this point, we can shuffle back the Baron during the standby phase in order to go for this guy again. And as you can see, we are playing up against Drytron. That is problematic. So they're going to go for their Alpha here. I am going to negate that. I think negating the actual Drytron activations is very nice, especially because they do have to tribute for cost. So Negating them if they are going to be destroyed is good. Negating them if they don't get destroyed, not worth it. But yeah, you know, putting them on 2 cards or 3 cards potentially in hand, you know, it's not the greatest, but it does stop them a little bit. So I do decide to negate with the Baron here, because there's not really a better negate target. I could have gone for like the Xe or something like that, but not that big of a deal. Anyway, they go for their Zeta. I'm going to chain the Maxi. They're going to Called By. Okay, cool. So we know that they only have 1 card in hand. And right now they're going to be searching out the Ritual spell, which is not as good as searching out a Ritual monster. Hence also why I think negating Alpha is probably better. So yeah, they're going to search out the the Ritual spell. They're going to go for the Natasha by tributing off their monster. Then they are going to target themselves for some reason, and gain 500, I guess. Now I'm going to draw a card because the monster attacked into me, and then we are just going to draw into Fusion Destiny. It's as simple as that. Good game. Thanks for having me. Anyway, I draw Imperm. It's not the greatest, but we're going to activate the Baron effect and Called By. Dang it! Okay, so we don't actually get to show off the effect of the Synchro here, but that's not that big of a deal because this activates. Where is it? If your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a P.U.N.K monster, just any of them, not even one you control, even if it's in the grave, you can still destroy. So we end up destroying the Natasha, and at this point the game is basically over. We have FD, which allows us to go into DPE, so we can just kind of close out the game with a DPE control, kind of. So we're just going to proceed to battle, and yeah, this game's over. So that's the deck. I know what you're thinking. This is basically just another Halqifibrax Auroradon deck. This isn't anything interesting. And to that I say, yeah, it's not. I'm sorry. I really am. But it does get better when the Adventure Engine does inevitably come out. Because with the Adventure Engine, as well as the Eldritch Engine, I know what you're thinking, it's not a whole bunch of Floodgates, it's just the Eldritch cards. You can play a 60-card variant of this deck that allows you to abuse basically some of the best cards in the format. The Adventure Engine, Eldritch, DPE, Halq, all 4 of these basically come together with P.U.N.K in order to just make a fairly cohesive strategy that works fairly well. Basically, any of the lines allows you to see a fairly decent combo, and they are varied enough to where you only need to see 1 or 2 cards within each combo to see basically the rest of the combo, and you're still able to put up a fairly competent board, right? So it's pretty nice, but at the moment it's just kind of Halqed on. Do I think you need to play it with DPE? Not necessarily. As I said, you could play it with like Scythe and Dagda in order to Scythe lock your opponent and then go into Baron, which is another option. Or you could just play DPE. Like, either way kind of works. You could even play DPE with the Dagda Scythe stuff. I don't know. Punks are... They're just not quite good enough on their own. Their game plan is pretty simple. It's like 2 cards. You summon out this guy with this guy still on the field. You pass turn. You make this guy returning a bunch of cards, potentially not. And then you sit on maybe like a negate or a face-up pop or a slight bit of protection. This one's not even protection. You just get to pop an additional card. That's it. It just pops an additional card. This one's kind of protection. It protects you from battle, but it's like... That's the major problem with the deck. It's consistent, and it does its combo pretty consistently. The combo just isn't good enough. So, there you go. There's the deck. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.